Just one more take. Chapter 1. The Standing. The film set was quiet, except for the faint hum of lighting rigs and the distant clatter of crew moving between scenes. Under the soft glow of diffuse studio lights, a Fox Street cafe sat, temporarily grafted onto the polished floors. Prop snow drifted in gentle piles. It was enough to trick the camera, but not its audience, not truly. Jay moved through the space like a ghost, necessary but unseen. As the stand-in, his job was to occupy a place on camera where the star actress would later be. To rehearse, to let the actor feel the contact, and then step away. In his silence, he watched the choreography of intimacy every time. Min was already there, in full rehearsal mode, picture perfect. A posture that snapped to attention, a gaze that measured everything, the kind of presence that felt composed of angles and reputation. Never flaw, never fatigue, always something. He didn't look at Jay as he walked in, but Jay could feel the weight of his attention, like gravity dragging a thread between them. They ran through the lines a couple of times, just enough for muscle memories to take over. The dialogue faded into background noise, routine, mechanical. Then in the lull that followed, Min looked at Jay.
You always pick peppermints when you're nervous.
Jay glanced up, startled. That wasn't in the script,
And you always pretend not to notice.
he said. Half instinct, half deflection. A pause. Their eyes held. This time, when Min reached across the table, it wasn't part of the scene. Min's hand drifted forward, his fingers brushing the back of Jay's. In theory, a brief rehearsal touch. In reality, it's lingered. Subtle, warm, and intentional. The director's voice cut through. Cut. But Min didn't move. Jay's pulse quickened. He felt the breath in his own throat before he realized Min might feel it too. After a moment, Min eased back into his composed posture. He stared at Jay as the crew shifted around them. Nothing spoken, but air rearranged. Jay realized he wasn't just part of the scene. He became the center of one. Later that evening, Jay didn't reply. The text was simple. Rehearsal, 11 p.m., no crew. No name, straight to the point, no apology, no pretense. Whatever Min meant, whatever he expected, it wasn't to be public. Jay turned his phone off. He couldn't bring himself to reply. And in the darkness, silence felt safer. In the hours that followed, Jay stayed to the edges, marking scenes, hitting cues, avoiding attention. He didn't speak to Min, didn't look at him. Not that it stopped his body from remembering. Every time he caught a glimpse of Min from across the room, adjusting a cuff, tipping his hat back to laugh at something that the director said, Jay's mind flickered back to that moment. The hand on his, the breaths between them. He told himself it didn't mean anything, that Min was just good at pretending. But even as he told himself that, he couldn't stop replaying it. And when the crew finally repped for the night, and the city outside slipped into silence, Jay found himself walking, not home, but toward the soundstage, toward 11 p.m., toward him. He took a long walk through the back corridors, past studios stacked like offices, until he reached the Docker soundstage door. Rain had begun to fall, not heavy, but enough to mist the concrete. He took a calming breath, the scent of wet tar and street lights curling around him. At exactly 11 p.m., Jay slipped inside. The studio was quiet, no crew. Dim lights painted everything in warm amber. The fake cafe set as it had before, untouched. The silence was thick enough to hold his breath. Min emerged from the shadows before Jay could greet him. He was played by Studio Light, an unguarded figure for the first time. Jay watched Min, or Min watched him. He brought his hand to his mouth and pressed the mint between his lips. Freshness and ritual, all in one simple action. He adjusted his striped-down wardrobe, smoothing hair that had grown too long since the morning. He didn't know if he hoped for normality or permission. Min took a step closer. Jay looked out. Their distance collapsed. No words, only attention. Min reached out, placing a hand gently against Jay's jaw. The gesture was calm, impressive in its quiet confidence.
Don't flinch.
The touch seemed to say without sound. Jay held Min's gaze, meeting intent with his own breath. Min paused. It hung there, tiny magic in the hush of the dark studio. Then he leaned in, confident but cautious. Jay felt a pull, felt the first touch of lips that weren't rehearsed, that weren't a role. Their kiss was deliberate, soft, hinting at promises neither dared to voice. Jay closed his eye, then opened them. Min didn't ask, he just moved. His hand slid down Jay's torso, slow and certain. Their lips aligned, friction tight, rough denim against denim. Min exhaled low, and his grip tightened, just enough to make Jay shudder. Jay's hips shifted, just slightly, his breath catching. Jay's mouth parted, eyes fluttering shut. The heat between them thickened, raw, heavy, electric. Min's grip tightened, deliberate, and then a phone buzzed, sharp. Voices outside. Min froze, hands still wrapped around Jay. Their eyes met, and just like that, the spell broke. Min stepped back, eyes meeting Jay's, intention hung in the space. Min hesitated, then simply turned and left, leaving the world beyond the scene in motion again. Jay heard the door click shut behind him. He did not follow. He did not speak. He only watched the spot where Min had stood. Min never said his name. He never murmured an answer to what that kiss meant, to the way his hand stayed, to the hardness pressed between them, to the choice not to speak when it mattered. Jay sat on the stage floor, the cafe set looming silent behind him. Head tilted, mint cooling on his tongue. The night air crept in through the wings. The world has shifted. Min was gone. The room was still. But the scene hadn't ended. Up for Jay. Just one more take. Chapter 2. Off cue. The morning air inside the studio felt colder than usual. Not the kind that touched the skin, but the kind that lingered behind your ribs, like something left unsaid. Jay arrived early. The floor wasn't even lit yet. Only a few crew members moved quietly, dragging cables, adjusting frames. Someone nodded at him without speaking. The call sheet had labeled it as warm-up, intimacy, sequence. Light blocking, casual wardrobe. Jay wore a soft knit pullover and house slippers, meant to mimic the feel of a couple's shared morning. The room had been staged like an apartment. A couch, coffee cups. The sunlight filtered through a paper window. Jay sat on the couch alone. Min entered a minute later. He looked rested, distant. His shirt was unbuttoned at the collar. His sleeves rolled back just far enough to seem effortless. He didn't greet Jay.
Let's run it.
He said simply. They sat, exchanged lines. Quick, clipped dialogues about breakfast routines and late mornings. Jay delivered his cues with precision. Min followed. Then came the final line. The one meant to sit just long enough to feel light. A beat, skip. Jay turned his head. Met Min's gaze. No expression, just quiet. Min's lips parted slightly, then stopped.
I need 5.
He said, standing up. Didn't wait for confirmation, just left. Jay stayed seated. He didn't look around, he just stared at the air. Min had been breathing a moment ago. A few minutes later, someone approached. A production assistant with a clipboard. Min said he's good to shoot with the actress. You're done for today. See you tomorrow. Jay nodded. It wasn't rejection. It was process. Logistics. But it still felt like someone had handed him back the echo of last night. Folded and empty. He didn't go home right away. Instead, he found the smallest dressing corner, folded himself into a chair, and sat. His hands were resting in his lap, right over the spot where Min's hand had been. Jay didn't cry, didn't even sigh. He opened his phone. The old message was still there. Rehearsal, 11 p.m., no crew. He stared at it, didn't delete it. Outside, the studio kept moving. Inside, he didn't. The next morning, Jay arrived even earlier. The set for today's shoot was warm lit, staged like a bedroom. Jay knew what was coming. The kiss. It was scheduled as a final scene between the leads. Director Saw had called him in early. Min arrived minutes later. He didn't greet Jay. Didn't acknowledge anything from the day before.
You ready?
Jay nodded. They ran the blocking. Lines exchanged. But when the cue came to lean in, Min froze. Director Saw's voice cut through. Not looking for emotion, just the angle. Min reached forward, hand raised. But instead of closing the distance, she pressed 2 fingers between their lips. Jay blinked. They stayed like that, breaths mingling, touch without a kiss. Silence loud enough to ache. Min's voice came quiet. Let's do it for real later. The actress arrived, makeup fresh, energy high. Jay stayed out of the frame, just beyond the curtain line. He watched Min step into place, watched him move through the lines, watched the lean in begin. Then, no tongue, please. The actress pulled back abruptly. The room went still, a few chuckles. Director lifted a hand. Let's reset. The actress sighed. Someone show him how it's supposed to look. And then, someone turned towards Jay. Jay blinked. He was already walking before he could answer. He stood opposite Min, not kissing, just positioning. Their faces close, their bodies held by performance. Jay tilted his head as instructed. Min didn't move. Jay could feel his gaze though, burning beneath the mask of boredom and something else. The shoot ended. Everyone scattered. Jay slipped out with the others. Backstage, he checked his phone. A message? Not from the director, not from a crew. From Min.
Come to my room.
Jay didn't knock. Min's message hadn't asked him to. Min was pacing. He didn't stop when Jay entered. Didn't smile. Didn't sit. He just said,
So you like that?
Jay froze. His hand stayed on the door behind him. Min turned. Eyes sharp, but not cruel.
You walked in like you were ready to kiss her.
A flat line. No heat. Just observation twisted into accusation. Like it didn't matter. Jay's breaths hitched. Not because Min was wrong, but because he had tried so hard to make it look that way. Jay didn't answer, didn't move. Min stepped closer.
You think I'm a bat kisser?
Jay blinked, lips parting to respond. But Min didn't give him the chance. He crossed the room in 3 steps and pulled Jay forward by the front of his shirt. The kiss landed hard, imperfect. Too much breath and not enough aim. It didn't matter. Jay kissed back. Hands moved quickly. Jay sliding up, pulling the fabric over his head. Min's hands didn't hesitate. He helped yank the shirt off, then grabbed Jay's wrist and lifted his arms higher, framing his bare chest. The shirt dropped to the floor. Jay's skin flushed in the golden overhead light. He moved to unbutton Min's shirt. Min caught his hand.
No.
He whispered.
Leave it.
Jay stilled. Min pressed their bodies together, shirt to skin, the context sharp and whole. Min exhaled against Jay's throat. He could feel everything. Jay wasn't hiding any of it. Then, there was no pause, no script, just friction, just motion. Jay's head fell back against the wall. Min's mouth moved without a sound. His voice caught in his throat. He gasped. Min's hand came up quickly, not cruel, but fast. He pressed his palm over Jay's mouth, steady and warm.
Not here.
Min whispered.
Don't let them hear.
Jay's eyes fluttered shut. His body responded to every inch of Min. Sharp breath, heat, the ache of restraint. Then silence again. Not empty, just complete. Afterward, Jay put his hoodie back on. Min didn't speak. He just stepped behind Jay, arms wrapping tight around his waist. Jay didn't move. He let himself be held. Min didn't loosen his grip. And then, a knock at the door. A voice from the hall.
Min, director's looking for you.
Min didn't move. His voice came low, measured.
Let him wait.
Just one more take. Chapter 3. Rumors. The studio had gone still. No crew, no lights, no echoes of blocking marks or shouted cues. Only quiet. The kind that settles in after something ends. Jay moved slowly across the set, packing props into petting bins, plastic mugs that looked like porcelains, paper pastries, memories pretending to be moments. Min was near the back today, not lounging or watching rehearsals like usual, but standing by the producer's table, mid-conversation. He was talking to the production director and someone else, higher up. Jay didn't hear what was said. He didn't need to. He kept working. A while later, just as he zipped up the final gear back, a production assistant came over. Jay? He turned. You're wrapped up, the PA said. But Min asked if you'd be available tomorrow morning. Jay raised an eyebrow. At the photo shoot, the PA clarified. He wants you listed as his assistant. Not like official staff, just someone there. Jay stared.
Did he say why?
The guy shrugged. Said he'd rather have someone he trusts around. There was a pause. Can you make it? Jay looked down at the prop bag in his hands, then back towards where Min had stood, now gone.
Yeah,
He said quietly.
I'll be there.
The next day felt like a different world. Jay stepped into the building. and immediately regretted wearing what he always wore. This wasn't a set. It was a brand lounge wrapped in a velvet and mirror. Sponsorship logos shimmered on the gold-backed banners. He checked in with the front desk. Name already on the list. Someone from PR waved him towards the interior hallway. "Min's in room B," she said. "You can go on in." Jay nodded. He walked the polished floor slowly, conscious of every step. When he reached the door, he hesitated. It was cracked open. Inside, a softly lit makeup room, vanity lightings glowing like stars. Min sat in front of the mirror. A stylist leaned in, brushing foundation across his cheekbone. Another person was adjusting the cuff of his wristwatch. Jay stood frozen in the doorway. He didn't know what to say. Didn't even know where to stand. He was just about to knock when Min looked out. The moment was brief, half a second at most. But Min caught Jay's eye through the mirror. And then, a tiny smile, gone almost instantly. No one else noticed, not the stylist, not the handlers, just Jay. He stepped inside awkwardly, quietly, stood near the corner. He didn't speak, didn't need to. Min didn't say anything either. But the curve of the smile lingered in Jay's mind. Long after it had faded from Min's lips. Time passed. Jay didn't remember how long he stood by the corner rack, pretending to check his phone. Eventually, the stylist cleared out. Min was left alone in the room. He didn't say anything at first, just leaned forward. Checking his appearance in the mirror, Jay stepped forward slowly, fingers brushing a strand that had fallen loose. Min didn't flinch. Jay stood behind him now, adjusting a flyaway strand near his temple. Steady hands brushing the edge of perfection.
You got
"This," Jay murmured, tucking the hair behind Min's ear. Min's eyes met his, in the mirror. That was all. Then came the camera flash. Min stepped onto the set like he belonged there, like the suit was part of his skin. He laughed on cue, winked mid-shot, turned his face just enough to catch the light, like it owed him something. The camera didn't just love him, it wanted him. Jay stood off to the side, quiet, unmoving. No headset, no clipboard. 100 frames clicked, flash after flash. Jay remained out of frame. Later, when the crowd had shifted, and the stylist ducked out to grab powder, Min sat briefly at the makeup station. Jay stepped forward. Min didn't speak at first, just looked at his reflection in the mirror, then met Jay's eyes. Then softly,
Thank you for doing this.
the press segment came less than an hour after the shoot. There was barely time to reset. Now seated, in front of a row of blinking mics. His hair was still perfect, his collar refastened. He smiled, recalibrated for charm instead of seduction. Jay lingered just off to the side, still unofficial, still watching. A headset was offered. He declined. He wasn't here to manage. He wasn't sure why he was here at all. The room pulsed with energy. Bright lights, buzzing cameras, chatter that made everything feel louder than it was. Min answered questions smoothly, each word polished to a shine. He grinned on cue, tilted his head. When someone asked about his ideal co-star, he laughed and mentioned someone unattainable. Safe, distant. Jay watched from behind, a column of light panels. Then quietly, Min leaned toward the handler and said,
I need short break. I'll be in the makeup room.
His gaze flickered across the room. Only once. But it was enough. Jay moved. They met near the hallway. Didn't speak. The makeup room shut door behind them. It was warmer here. Jay didn't ask what they were doing. Didn't need to. Min stepped forward, his hand brushing Jay's jaw like it was instinct. The kiss was immediate. Messy. Starved. Like the hour since the last one had been a punishment. Jay's back hit the wall. Min's mouth moved down his throat. Slow, but certain. Jay gasped as Min's hand pressed flat against his chest. Their lips aligned in half a second. Breasts tangled between them. Then, the door opened.
Hey, Min.
A casual voice, mid-sentence. Then silence. A man stood frozen in the doorway. Min didn't flinch. Just stepped slightly outside, calm as ever. The men blinked. Eyes registered everything.
Sorry,
He murmured.
I came too early.
He backed out. But not before seeing too much. The door closed. Neither of them moved. The room, warm a moment ago, now felt stripped bare. Min inhaled, like he might say something. He didn't. Then left. That night, Jay didn't wait for a message. He got home, dropped his bag, and sat on the edge of the bed without even taking off his shoes. The apartment was quiet, too quiet. He checked his phone, out of habit. No text, no calls. But there it was, trending. Top rom-com star, hide secret love. No names, no direct accusations. Just the grainy image of a cracked open door. And a silhouette behind it. Next to it, a photo of Min from the same day, flashing his signature grin in a perfectly lit interview shot. Jay stared at it for too long. He didn't even scroll down. The headline was enough. He locked the screen, tossed the phone onto the bed, and pressed the heel of his hands into his eyes. He didn't cry, didn't move, just sat there, still. Minutes passed. Then, a knock. Not loud, not rushed. 3 beats. Paused. Then again. Jay froze. When he opened the door, Min was there. Head low, hoodie zipped, eyes shadowed. He didn't say anything. Jay stepped aside. Min entered like he didn't want to be seen even by the hallway. He moved past the kitchen and stood near the window, arms crossed, back straight, like he had been pacing for hours before showing out. Jay stayed near the door. Min spoke first.
I didn't know. Come looking for me.
Jay nodded. Didn't say, it doesn't matter. Because it did. Min turned, his voice low.
I didn't think it would happen like this.
Jay didn't move. Min let out a breath that caught halfway through.
I thought I had more time.
He turned. His face was drawn, like whatever version of Min the world had seen today had been peeled off the second the door shut. Jay still didn't say anything. Min took a step closer, then another.
I thought I had more time.
He said. His voice was low, barely shaped, like he hadn't spoken since he left the studio.
I was stupid.
He looked up finally, eyes rimmed with frustration, not at Jay, at himself, and all of it.
I'm going to lose everything.
That was the moment. Jay stepped forward. No questions, no commentary, just arms. He pulled Min in it. Slow, certain, held him there. Gently, completely. Min's body gave out in pieces. Shoulders first, then hands, then breath. His face pressed against Jay's shoulder. Voice muffled. Jay let him stay. But after a long moment, he spoke, still holding Min close. He asked quietly,
Am I just a rumor to you?
Min tensed. Jake didn't pull away, but he didn't soften either.
I don't want to be in the shadows.
Jay's script didn't change, but something in his body did.
I need to know.
He added softly.
Because if I'm just a secret, or a mistake you regret getting caught with.
He didn't finish the sentence. Min leaned back, just enough to meet his eye.
No.
He said, quiet, firm.
You're not.
Jay waited. Min's throat bobbed with a swallow.
We'll figure it out.
He said finally.
Just not in the light.
Jay nodded once. Not approval. Just understanding the terms. Min leaned into him again. This time slower, heavier. Jay let him. And in the quiet space, the negotiation began. Just one more take. Chapter 4. Final frame. They hadn't planned for this to be the last time. But ending had a way of sneaking in. Not with a bang, but with a pause. A silence that stretches just long enough to mean more than words ever could. Jake didn't ask Min to leave that night, and Min didn't try. They didn't talk much after that final moment. Just stood in the hush of the apartment, arms wrapped around each other, like the weight of what wasn't said could be held between them. Later, Min had followed Jay to bed. Clothes had slipped off not like seduction, but like surrender. No script, no tension. Just skin against skin. Breaths shared under a comforter that suddenly felt too thin to hold what they were becoming. They made love slowly, not hungrily, but as if confirming something that had never needed words. Only contact. And afterward, Min didn't pull away. He stayed. Face turned toward Jay. Fingers drifting lazy line across his shoulder, until they both drifted into sleep. When Jay woke up next morning, Min was still there, but only for a moment. He kissed Jay's temple, whispered,
We'll figure it out.
then left. No follow-up, no plan. Just the echo of sentence that sounded less like a promise and more like a question. Jay stared at the door long after it closed. He didn't text, didn't call, because figuring out meant something different to each of them. And Jay had learned that hope without clarity was just waiting in disguise. So he didn't wait. He went back to work, memorized new lines, took early call times, stayed late. He didn't look at headlines, didn't reread the last message. But when he lay down at night, alone now, he could still feel Min's hand on his skin. And that was the problem. It still felt like home. Outside, spring was trying its best. Warmer light through his windows. new shoots pushing through sidewalk cracks. Even the wind had softened. Jay noticed all of it. And none of it. Then came the knock. Jay opened the door, but didn't step aside. Min stood in the hallway, his carry-on slung over one shoulder. Jet lag clung to him in soft folds. He looked like a man who had come straight from the airport. Because he had. Jay leaned against the door frame, arms crossed. He didn't smile.
You didn't call.
Min met his gaze.
I needed to see you first.
Jay exhaled, a tired sound that didn't hide the ache beneath.
I'm tired.
A pause.
Of work. Of secrets. Of us.
The silence that followed wasn't sharp, but slow. Like something familiar being folded and packed away for good. Min didn't argue, didn't beg. Instead, he stepped forward, just far enough for the light from Jay's living room to catch the edge of his jaw.
I love you.
He said. It wasn't dramatic, wasn't dressed in apology. It was worn in, like something he'd been holding every day, and had only now dared to show. Jay froze. The breath left him in an uneven gust. For all the scenes they rehearsed, for all the lines they pretended to feel, this one, unscripted and raw, hit hardest. Min's eyes searched his.
I didn't know how to be this.
He admitted.
But the whole flight home, I kept thinking, if I landed and didn't see you first, I'll regret it.
Jay's hand stayed on the doorknob. For 1 second. Then 2. Then he stepped forward. His hand found Min's shirt. Not a grip. Not a push. Just enough to pull him in. Chest to chest. Silence to silence. And then he held him. No kiss. No drama. Just the kind of closeness that didn't ask for permission anymore. The world moved on fast. The article, the Shadow Dore image, forgotten within a week. A bigger scandal broke somewhere else. Louder, darker, and hungrier. It swept Min off the trending list and into the next round of press tours and screenings. In the meantime, something else changed. Min stopped hiding. Not in the dramatic way of bold hand-holding or red carpet declarations, but in the smaller, more significant ways. He stopped wearing hats pulled low. Stopped calling only at night. He texted Jay in daylight now, sometimes with a blurry photo of his lunch and a single word caption, bored. They met in public, once even in a quiet bookstore cafe. Min bought Jay a latte and didn't flinch when someone recognized him. Jay noticed. He noticed everything. The way Min no longer checked behind him when they walked through a park. The way he said, "I'll see you later," instead of, "I'll text when it's safe." It wasn't perfect. It wasn't public. But it was something. Jay's new project picked up pace. A gritty, low-budget drama shot on the outskirts of town. Long hours, cold sets, no trailers. But it felt real, honest, like something he could grow inside, not just survive. Min, meanwhile, became harder to hold on to. The closer his premiere came, the more the world demanded of him. His voice, when it came through the phone, always sounded like it was in motion. Airport echoes, car doors shutting. Sometimes they passed between visits. But when he was in town, he came home to Jay. They stayed mostly at Min's. Less chance of being seen. Nights were quiet, familiar. No fireworks, just brushing teeth side by side and falling asleep with feet tangled. It was a rhythm made of compromise and late returns. Then one night, Min arrived without warning. Jay heard the key turn in the lock and looked up from the floor. Min stepped inside, still in his interview clothes. But he looked tired. Jay stood.
You're back.
Min didn't answer right away. He crossed the room, leaned against the wall like gravity was pulling harder than usual. Then he pulled a folded card from his inner jacket pocket and held it out. Jay blinked.
You want me to see it?
Min shook his head, then looked directly at him.
I want you there.
Not backstage, not in the wings. There. Jay's throat caught. Not from nerves, from the deliberateness of it. Min stepped closer.
You're the only part of this that's ever felt real.
Jay looked down at the invite, then back at Min. They didn't kiss. Didn't need to. But in the moment, Jay knew. Min wasn't offering a favor. He was offering a place beside him. The opening night. The theater buzzed with soft chaos. Cameras clicked, stylists fitted. Publicists murmured last-minute changes into Bluetooth earpieces. Jay stood near the edge of the velvet rope line. Unnoticed. He didn't mind. That wasn't why he was here. He watched as Min arrived. The crowd surged with flashes, and Jay let the distance settle between them like a curtain. But then, Min saw Jay and walked over. No handlers, no delay. Just walked right up and said,
You look good.
But when the lights dimmed and everyone moved towards their assigned seats, Min reached for Jay's wrist, not dramatically, just enough, and led him down the aisle. He didn't sit with the cast. He sat beside Jay. The movie started. Soft piano over opening credits. A street cafe set lit with amber light. Jay remembered the scene before it even appeared. The moment of almost a kiss. The one where Min had first touched his hand. The one that had never made it into the final cut. But something else had. A kiss. On screen, Min leaned in toward the lead actress. Perfect lighting. Clean angles. A kiss rehearsed 100 times. Shot in 5 takes. Jay stared at the screen. Min leaned close. His breast brushed Jay's ear.
That kiss.
He whispered, voice low enough to be lost beneath the soundtrack.
Was supposed to be ours.
Jay turned his head slowly. The theater glowed dimly, casting flickers of light across Min's jaw. Min didn't look away. And then, Min's fingers found Jay's hand, finding its match in the dark. And Jay didn't pull away. Just tightened his fingers, quietly, like a yes spoken through touch. They held each other till the credits rolled. And somewhere between the lights and silence, they had already chosen each other. In the quiet, in the light. And in that moment, that was enough. Thank you for listening to this story. If it moved you, please consider subscribing, leaving a review, or sharing it with someone who loved it too. It means more than you know. The music you're hearing is just one more take. It's available on all streaming platforms. And if you're listening on YouTube Music, the link's waiting for you in the description. More stories are on the way. Different lives, new hearts. Same truth. Love always finds a way. See you next time.